Kim, it's great to have you on the show. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
As comfortable as one can be on, Hangouts, but really good to have you. And the reason I wanted to have you on the show was I wanted to talk to you because you are kind of a self-made social media manager and inbound marketing person, about your journey from reinventing yourself to some degree from the real estate into this field. I mean, you had to be able to sell yourself in that area as well, and just talk about the origins of moving from that world into this world, and how you started.
Okay. So I got into real estate many years ago, and I really liked the one thing I liked about real estate was the opportunity to work with buyers and sellers and really think on my feet and I had to learn to market myself. And so one of the things got frustrated with in real estate was the way that brokerages were marketing their business, and I thought I could do better, so I started my own brokerage, Progressive Real Estate. One thing I did was I did not have a regular real estate website. I developed my own using HubSpot, and this was back in 2006, 2007, when HubSpot was first getting started. So I took my content and I had to think in a different way and put it onto a non-traditional real estate website. As I got going on that website, I started generating a lot of leads, and I got really busy. And so by 2007, Twitter came along, and I started tweeting, and I'd go to some ladies' lunches, and they'd all ask me, what the heck is Twitter, and what are you doing on it? And I didn't know how to respond to them. I was just tweeting. So then in 2008, 2009, I approached Hometown Realty, and I said, look, I'm getting really busy. The one thing I didn't like to do was recruit people and work with, deal with agents. I was just really busy working. So I said, I will do this for you. And I started working with Hometown Realty, working on their lead generation and their website. I redeveloped their website 3 times over the few years that I worked with them. And I really liked working on the marketing aspect. 2009, the market crashed, and 2010, I had to make a decision. What was I going to do with myself? So going through 2010, I didn't know if I wanted to go stay in real estate or try something else. And I was still working on marketing, and I really liked it. So in January 2011, I decided I was going to start a virtual assisting business. I had no idea what the heck I was doing, so I just started networking, didn't even have a website, didn't have anything. I just went out to some networking events, and I said, I'm gonna be a virtual assistant. Do you need help with anything? Because this is what I was doing already.
Mm-hmm.
And as I started working with talking to people, their ears perked up when I said that I was doing marketing, and I realized quite quickly that there was something here because people needed help getting things done. And my business has evolved into, I don't do virtual assisting anymore. I quickly learned that that was not really for me. So I started developing campaigns, and I met a web developer, Eric, from Lizard Webs, and he taught me how to develop websites. So I started working with him doing web development, and having that marketing background really helped me to figure out how to structure the website so that it really got leads for people and not just looked pretty. So I really started developing my skills with combining the marketing, the web development, and already having social media that I was doing for myself, starting mixing it together. And in 2011, it was all about figuring out what the heck I was doing. 2012 was all about, okay, now I've got these clients, what am I going to do for them, and developing my connected campaign. I found that as I was, the reason I moved from being a virtual assistant into inbound marketing, a consultant, and social media is because as I was meeting with these businesses, they were asking me, well, how do I do it? And how do I get it done? And they really couldn't think outside. They're very good as a business person, they were really good in their business, but they weren't good thinking about how to market their business. And so I'd sit with them and I'd start realizing that I'd give them lots of ideas. And I said, well, let's do this and let's do that and let's try this and let's try that. And so I was putting these campaigns together, and I realized that a lot of businesses just throw money at the wall and they hope something sticks. So as I was starting to figure out how can I take what they're already doing and rein it in, I started to develop the connected campaign, where I develop a theme, and then off the theme we develop the content. I help them create the content, and it pulls everything together so it's not so scattered and it's a little more focused, and that's what helps them get more leads. And then the social media piece is really, how can you use social media in your marketing to magnify your message and push it out there to the audience and let them know what you're doing in a way that's not so me, and push. It's more of a, what kind of content can we create for your audience, put it out on social media to pull in the leads. So I started picking up clients, a lot of different ones, and I got in front of Richard, the VP of Operations at Smithfield's Chicken and Barbecue, and I just wanted to interview him. That's all I wanted to do. I had no clue that he actually needed help with anything. So him and we started putting together, he hired me, and we started putting together a lot of campaigns. He knew one aspect of marketing, and then what I did was I took what my clients are already doing, and I thought of all the different things more that we could do for them. If we had a budget and we could get it done, great. If we couldn't, we kept it small. So what I really enjoyed the most and have learned a lot about working with a bunch of different clients is how to take a message, how we can expand on that message, push it out on social media, and engage the audience. Really learned how to work with the social media, engage the audience that they already had, and grow the audience bigger. For example, with Smithfield's, I started with about 5,500 fans on their Facebook page, and today they have over 14,000, and that was only 2 years working with them. It was a combination of the campaigns that we did and the advertising that we did.
Excellent. I want to back up a little. You covered a lot of territory there, and I want to start with actually Twitter. It was very good. And what were you doing when you moved to Twitter? Because that was one of your beginning platforms. I heard.
Yes. Yeah.
I suspect that what you were doing is just having a conversation like you would in general with another person. And I want others to hear that, because it's like people aren't willing to take the risk to get out there enough to even have a chance for people to get to know them to potentially hire them. So I have a suspicion it began with Twitter. So could you say something about that?
Yeah, so Twitter in 2007, it just kind of started, and nobody knew what to do with it, how to use it. Sorry. Right. And I didn't know how to use it either. So all I was doing was just watching what people posted, commenting, and retweeting people and putting out information about what I was doing. And I went from no followers to over 1,000 within just a few months. And that's what people were asking me about. And honestly, at the time, I didn't even know what I was doing. I was just on Twitter, tweeting, not even having any strategy, just jumped in. I'm the type of person, I jump in with both feet and figure out what the heck I'm doing afterwards. So that was Twitter. And then now I've become a little bit more strategic, using my hashtags and making sure that my content is aligned with the marketing that I'm doing. But that was Twitter.
But it started with you having really, I want to acknowledge the courage to get out there, because there's so many people that, they operate with aim, target gone, aim, and keep going. And you found a way to start getting your toe and engaging, and you've got some first-time experience with this. And this is, to me, something that when people go, well, I ask you, well, why have you got clients and successful? One of the things I see is the courage to get out and take risk and experiment in the real world with it. You want to comment on that a little more?
Yeah, so I started again in real estate, and that whole transition of, okay, I've done real estate, been there, done that. I have lots of ideas about it, but do I want to go back to that? No, I really like marketing. It's my passion. So how can I rebrand myself into marketing, inbound marketing, social media? And one of the things that I realized was that I had to, and I couldn't, it took me a little bit to figure this out, but it was on social media, you have your profiles. So I really focused on developing my profiles and taking the real estate off and making sure that it was all my profiles were in line with what I was working on right now. So that was really important. The second thing on social media, when I was posting, I was talking in a voice and trying to mostly respond, because in the beginning, when social media first kind of started, nobody really knew what to do. And so they were all just pushing out some messages, and I don't have time to be, I'm busy working on people's accounts, and I'm working on their business and putting out content for them. So I didn't really have time for myself to develop my personal brand. So the biggest thing that I did was respond. And I was out there listening, and I was just kind of making comments and giving my thoughts and opinions, and I was responding. So the two things that I tell people, if they don't have a lot of time, the only two things they should be focusing on is blogging and responding. That is the basic, will get you the biggest bang for your buck, is blogging and responding. This way you're not shouting your message and you're drawing people to you, because when you're responding, they're getting to know who you are and they're wanting to make that connection with you.
And also back then there was a little bit less volume than there is today. I mean, that's the big thing, is now there's so much more volume. You have to be playing up your game. Well, back in 2006, I also remember being on Twitter, and it's like the world wasn't fully on Twitter yet. So people are looking for someone to talk to.
Yeah. And then also G+, the same thing kind of happened on G+. So I've gotten quite a few people in my circles just because of posting, responding, talking to people, and getting my circles up, as well as getting into the communities. I really like the communities when there's about 1,000 to 2,000 people, because then there's enough people to post interesting information and ask questions. But then when you get past that 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 mark, the communities are ridiculous because everybody's just shouting, nobody's really responding. I don't like communities like that. So I found that I got the biggest response and the biggest people circling me back and the most engagement in those smaller communities where I could just respond and get my point across and kind of help people out.
Yeah, great. And the other word I heard was your voice, and that's real important. You kept your natural voice when you were engaging in Twitter, but you also realized the importance of a consistent voice, and I think that's a key thing that probably led to your success, is the consistency of a voice out there. And then I'm sure you moved with your clients to find what would their voice be as well. Is that right?
Yeah, so working with clients has been a lot of fun, and the one thing that I really like the most about this business is having a client that allows me to try different things, because social media is not, it's a moving target and there's no right or wrong way to do it. So when we develop these campaigns, I'll give suggestions on let's try this, and let's try that. And when they say yes and they say go for it, it's really exciting to me, because then I get to do screenshots, and then I'll have social proof that this works. Or one of the best lessons I learned from Smithfield's was doing their contests. I learned that there are 3 things that make a contest successful. It's hopefully I can remember off the top of my head. It is the effort of the participant, the size of the prize, and the barrier to entry. So if all three things are aligned, you'll have a successful campaign contest. But if there's something a little off, your contest is going to fail. An example would be if the prize is only a $20 gift certificate and you are asking somebody to go bring their mother to your store, take a picture with mom in your store, and then upload the photo into a third-party app on Facebook, that barrier of entry is huge. For the amount of prize, no way it's going to happen. Completely bombed. And so we learned a lot as we were trying different things out, and that's what I enjoy the most is just having the opportunity to try some creative stuff.
The other thing I noticed you said with Smithfield is that you really didn't lead with a sales pitch on social media. You leaded with an interview, and how many times finding something that speaks to their world to relate to first often is a better selling approach in social media than just the traditional, hey, I'm a social media person, please hire me. I want you to comment on that.
Yes. So I have gotten almost all my business from not trying to get business. And I do not go out there and truly actively look for business. I go out and tell people what I do, and I try and get that first meeting. And then when I sit down with them, all I do is ask them what is their problem, what are they having an issue with, and figuring out what I can do for them, and then the other real key for getting all my clients is actually giving them ideas first.
Yeah.
And if I don't get the business, I don't get the business, and they've walked away with a couple really good ideas. But I've taken that fear away of, oh my God, I can't tell them everything I know. Because I don't know about you, but I hate when I sit down with somebody and they don't tell me anything. They're like, oh, well, hire me and I'll tell you. I'm thinking, okay, well, how do I know you really know what you're talking about? So I try and prove to people that I know what I'm talking about by giving them at least some direction. And sometimes I'll give them too much information, but I know that they're not really they don't know what I know. They don't know how to set up their Google authorship correctly. They just don't have those kind of ideas of what can we do, what else can we do to magnify this marketing campaign that we're working on. You know, what else can we do to create content that we can post and create a landing page and pull people in and set up that email drip campaign. So I'll give them just enough, but I do give them a lot. I do give them good ideas.
Excellent. That's really important. That piece of giving them enough information and not just being overly stingy with data when you're in front of them, which is I would probably be accused of the same thing. If anything, I give too much, then not enough. And you're the golden goose, so they can have a few golden eggs, but that's all they'll get out of it. And I think that's a really important piece of it. What do you enjoy? You mentioned the thing you enjoy is the ability to kind of work with them, come up with ideas, and experiment, but obviously with a plan. You know, you've got a probability of success. What other things do you enjoy about your field and working in this area?
What other things do I enjoy? I enjoy the variety. I enjoy watching their site rank higher, watching them get more the forms on their site. I kind of CC myself so I can watch that they're at least getting leads. And it's exciting to me to know that what we're working on is actually paying off, because I get really frustrated and feel really bad if something doesn't work. And then I try and figure out, okay, well, if it's not working, what can we do different? Like, why is it breaking down? Where's the breakdown in the system, and how can we fix it? So I like to be a problem solver, and I actually get a lot of energy out of figuring out, okay, this isn't working. What else can we try? What can we do differently?
Mm-hmm. And testing them and get, like you said, getting results. I think also your training in the web helped in probably understanding analytics and conversion as well. And of course, in real estate, if you don't have conversion, you're starving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I really got from real estate was the target. This is the big key for real estate is you have this target audience and buyers, for example, right? And they are coming from out of town and they want to they don't know this area. So I would take my video camera and I'd go to Apex, and I think I did Holly Springs, Apex, and then I also did pool communities. So I took my video camera, went out and interviewed business owners on what they liked about Apex. And I put a short video together that's still on my YouTube channel and still getting views, and I'm still getting comments on it from people out of town. And I did this, gosh, so many years ago. But the point is that it forced me to think about the target audience and not me.
Mm-hmm.
So how can I create the content for them, and what are they looking for? And I think when I work with businesses now, they miss that point, or they really struggle with that point, because all they think is, this is what I'm doing, and how can I push out my message? I want buyers. I want people to come to my business. And it's not about what you want. You're trying to solve a problem for someone else. And that was a very, very good lesson for me.
So what would be the problem with barbecue that you solved there? I know the answer in my head, so I'll help out. But what was the question challenge that was there? Because it's a well-known established business. And what would you say kind of the problem you solved for them?
Say that again. What kind of problem?
What type of problem? You said what you loved is solving problems.
Yes.
Smithfield, I was thinking, what was the problem that they had that you were solving for the customer? And I've got an answer, but I want to,
Was that the tailgate? You're talking about the tailgate?
Yeah.
Okay. So, so when you're selling a barbecue for Smithfield, for example, you can't say to somebody, well, give me a recipe on how your favorite barbecue. Well, you can't do that because their barbecue is set. So I had certain limitations. So we had to try and figure out how we could get around the limitations, the menu set, and then we have 33 locations, and all we need to do is bring people in. So a 3 summers ago, Richard and we sat down, and he said he wanted to go after the high school football teams and do some tailgating, because Bojangles had they had college football. So we couldn't get into college football, and we really don't have any professional football around here. So we couldn't get into the college football. We were going to have to go after the high school football. And this was putting together a really awesome campaign that focused on sports and football and had absolutely nothing to do with restaurant and barbecue. And we killed it with the amount of tailgate specials that we sold based on this campaign. We used, so anyway, as we were starting to develop the idea, we realized that going after high school was not the best tactic, and we were going to have to go after the college because they're the ones that are actually tailgating. So now if we have to go head-to-head against Bojangles, who has this huge marketing budget, what are we going to do? We had to use social media because that was the cheapest way we could go after them head-to-head. And we developed a whole entire campaign around tailgating called The Real Tailgate. It was a podcast. The second year we added in a really cool Hangout on Air, which was a live TV show that we did with all the sports writers. We had a blog. We did a niche website. We had special social media sites set up. We had a special Twitter, special Facebook page just for the tailgate. And we created a persona around this tailgate. And the one thing that we did was all we wanted to do was track our tailgate coupon. And that's how we could prove that the tailgate special worked, that the Real Tailgate campaign worked, was based on this coupon. So a lot of times people say in social media, well, how can you know that it's working? Well, the one thing I always say is you never send anybody back. You never send your traffic back to your homepage, because how are you going to know if it's working if everything goes back to the homepage? So we tracked on the coupon, and I also, on my clients, I track on internal pages on the website. And the first year, we the sales for each of the stores, the lowest amount from year over year for tailgate, just tailgate sold, the lowest store had an increase of 11%. Nightdale had the highest increase, 86% sales increase in sales. for the tailgate special. And this was all social media. The only thing we did was we did banner ad on WRAL. That was outbound advertising. And what else? I think that was the only outbound advertising that we had throughout the whole entire campaign. Everything else was based on social media, podcasting, and that Hangout on Air was just awesome.
Great, great. So you really created another. First, what I loved is, in some ways, you didn't plan it, but you tested with the high school, and you obviously got enough traction to know there's something there, but knew there isn't that much tailgating. And then you moved in after that to compete at the bigger level, and really created a separate channel after this kind of micro test. And what's important to note is you don't always have all that planned out, but you go, wait a second, we're winning over here. Maybe we can win over here. Is that anything?
The first year we did just the podcast, the blogging, and the WRAL online banner advertising and the social media channels. And the second year we added in a few more bloggers. We hired sports bloggers. I mean, I can't blog for sports. I can barely. They gave me the Twitter account, and I went to the NC State football game, and I tweeted 3 times throughout the whole entire game, and I had to have all my tweets approved by my husband. Like, I do not know sports. So I know nothing about sports, but the whole entire campaign I put together just being project manager and getting the blogs in and posting it. And then we learned that, so the second year we decided to try and expand it, and that's when we added in the Hangout on Air. And I said, I told Richard, I said, this is a really cool thing. Nobody else is doing this, and we should give it a try. Because now we have content on a YouTube channel that is talking in between. It's like you had these commercials for Smithfield's in between the guys talking. They kind of had like a little commercial break. So that's how we said, Smithfield's is sponsoring this. But so it was really exciting to be part of that. But another good point is, okay, so here we are, we're selling food, but we're talking about football. So a lot of businesses have really not boring, but limited, what's a good word for that? Limited type of business. They're very structured into, I just sell HVAC, or I just am this, right? And so you have to, if you're very structured into only one little niche, well, do you sponsor a little league team? Do you, what is your passion? Do you have a passion that you can tie into and really play off of in order to engage your audience? Because it's very hard when you have, for example, a foundation repair company. It's very hard to talk about cracks in your foundation over and over and over.
Right.
So, I had one idea. They of course knocked it down, but I will say it anyway because I thought it was a really good idea. The contest was show us your crack. I thought it was funny, but they didn't like it.
Right. I understand.
But, so what else can we do? It was all about, let's talk about home improvement, and do they sponsor any sports that we could at least use in the community that the community would find valuable. You have to find something that the community is going to think, oh wow, this is really cool. Do you have a nonprofit that you sponsor or support that you could use as your, what would you call that, Martin? It's like your piece that you use to push everything off of, your community engagement.
I know, I'm actually drawing a blank, but the key thing here is, again, getting into the customer's world, so that you're the sponsored vehicle instead of the unwelcome interruption. They want to know about sports. They want to hear these interviews, and I love the thing that I want to talk a minute about the Hangout and how you did it, because you mentioned having your own infomercial or commercial in as a sponsor of what you're doing, which I think is fantastic, as well. Did you did the live Hangout, then you turned it off and downloaded it, because in the beginning that you had limited options, right? And then you edited it and reloaded it. Is that how you did it?
Yeah, so we had a whole entire system around this, and it was a really good well-oiled system, and it worked so good. So what we did was we had a lady, Nicole, who was in charge of producing the hangout. So my job was to create the content to um, entice people to want to watch the hangout. Nicole got all the sports writers who were in charge of who signed up for that week to be on the hangout. So she corralled them and got them onto the hangout. And then we had one of the sports writers who was in charge of being the host, and he guided everybody throughout the speech, and then threw in the commercial in between and talked about Smithfields. Then we had another company called the Mesh.tv, and they're the ones that pulled the hangout down, did the bumpers at the front and the back, and then they're the ones that put it back onto our YouTube channel. But the other really cool thing that they did was, the reason we used them is because they hosted it and they pushed it onto iTunes. So they turned it more into a video podcast so that we could track the downloads through them. And that's the other thing, that it's all about tracking and analytics, because if you're in corporate America, you need to prove to your boss that what you're doing is working. And if you're the owner, you want to know that your social media consultant is actually doing the job and producing some kind of results. So tracking is really important. And if you're doing any kind of podcast or video, you need to watch the views and track that. So then, once the video was done, we had it onto the we put it onto the niche website. We embedded it onto the niche website. We had this whole incredible process that Nicole and Richard and I and the Mesh TV, we all put together, and then the bloggers were our people that made it all fun and interesting to watch.
Outstanding. What a great explanation of how you truly did ramp up a real TV. Now, are they still going with it, or where is it at this point?
Yeah. So unfortunately, I don't know if Smithfields is going to continue it in the fall, but we did it for 2 seasons, and it was very successful, in my opinion, because it generated sales in their store, and it got good downloads and viewership.
And I like the idea of 2 seasons. So you've got something. If you wrapped it in a bow and stopped it, it's at least a self-contained piece that exists out there that can keep marketing them, right?
Yeah, and with the Hangout on Air, Google it's free, and so we're doing the same thing
Right.
at Smithfields and doing a TV show, so anybody can do it, and that's the super cool thing. If you're coaching a client and you want to record it, when you're talking to clients and you can't write fast enough, and they're giving you so many good ideas, and you're trying to keep up and you're trying to listen and write at the same time, you could use a Hangout and record the whole thing, so your client would have it and you wouldn't have to worry about taking notes. And then it's recorded. You can make it private. Nobody in the world would have to see it but your client, so it's good value add for you as a consultant as well. Anything else?
There we go. Repeat the last sentence, because we just got a drop off with you, which was a part of what happens in Hangout sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Like you said, you can record the client and make it work.
Yeah, so you could record the client, you could record your coaching session or your business meeting using a Hangout on Air, so that nobody has to take notes, and you can totally pay attention to what's going on in the interview and the session. So that way, when it's done, it's private. Nobody else in the world sees it but your client, and it's a value add for you as a consultant.
Well, I think a number of things for people wanting to know about marketing, both their social media and others, is you're letting your passion out so they can know it, and you're not just going out there selling social media. And I think that's a really important piece that you did it. In closing, any advice for people that are interested in this? Because again, to reiterate and recap, that you were willing to take the risk, you're willing to get out there, and you're willing to solve real world problems with people. And I'm pretty clear why the clients were coming to you.
Well, thank you. To wrap up, I think that if you're going to be a social media consultant, or you want to be, you need to prove that you know what you're talking about. And the only way to prove it is just by offering to do it for free, just to get started. and watching, you know, how much you're going to charge, and then proving it through case studies. All my clients I've gotten from talking about other clients.
Mm-hmm. And that's it. Case studies and results. And if they don't work out, what did you learn from it? So
Yeah.
don't just stop real quickly. Excellent. Well, terrific to have you on the show today, and look forward to working with you in the future. And we'll have more contact information below, so look out for that, of how they can reach you and find out cool things you're doing, Kim. It was great to have you on the show today.
Thanks.
Take care.